This is ZL6A, headquarters station of the New Zealand Association of Radio Transmitters, with the official broadcast for August 2015. Tonight, presidential comment, headquarters news, and on the international scene,
the Science Museum in India honours ham radio's heyday in the city of Bangalore.
Yes, that and more on tonight's NZART official broadcast. Good evening, everyone. Presenting the official broadcast, I'm Jim Meechan, ZL2BHF in Nelson. We lead tonight's broadcast with presidential comment. Here's our NZART President, Stuart Watchman, ZL2TW. Stuart?
Good evening, everyone. I am suffering from a cold. I assure you that an imposter has not taken over as NZART President. On behalf of Council, I would like to thank the Christchurch branch for offering to host next year's NZART conference. The 2016 conference will be on Queen's Birthday, the 4th and 5th of June 2016, at the Riccarton Racecourse in Christchurch. I thoroughly enjoyed the last Christchurch conference in 2006. Now that you have all been informed, I expect to see a good turnout next year. If you need to contact Debby at NZART HQ to make an alteration to your address and other details, please make sure that this is in writing, which includes emails. Debby does require a paper trail, so to speak, to back up any alterations that she makes. This particularly applies to government records on the Radio Spectrum Management Database. Please appreciate this is why Debby will ask for details in writing if you phone her to make any changes. Radio Spectrum Management have audited the NZART ARX activities in the past, and we have passed with flying colours, thanks to Debby's attention to detail. A vacancy remains for the position of Northern Region NZART Councillor. I have written to all NZART branch secretaries in the region, and an expression of interest in the position has been received. A decision will be made at next week's council meeting, and an announcement should be made with regard to this position in the coming edition of NZART Infoline. I am also pleased that council has received an application for the position of permanent break-in editor. This will also be discussed at the next council meeting, and an expected announcement in next week's Infoline. The next edition of Break-In will be edited by John Walker, ZL3IB, and we aim to have the final edition of 2015 looked after by the new editor. A vacancy remains for the position of NZART Honorary Solicitor. The actual workload for this position is low. Council only requires occasional legal advice. This is a highly specialised officer position, and with few amateurs in New Zealand having the necessary qualification. The position need not be filled by an amateur. Listeners may have a friend or relative who may be able to help us out. If you think you may know of someone that would be suitable, please let myself, Debby, or your nearest councillor know. Work is progressing on Remit 1 from the Hamilton Conference. This remit concerned recruitment of new amateurs. A group within council, including me, have been making contact with the movers and shakers behind the successful weekend courses for the amateur radio examination. I will have more information with regard to this in the next edition of Break-In. Summits on the Air, or SOTA, have become a major activity in the British Isles and Australia, where geographical peaks are numbered, with points awarded for contacts with amateurs operating portable on those summits. Warren, ZL2AJ, and his team have nearly finished processing the over 5,000 eligible summits in New Zealand. The work has been considerable, and soon the New Zealand data will be sent to the UK for approval, and following that, SOTA activity can commence locally. Many of these summits will be relatively easy to access. What a great activity! Fresh air, exercise, the New Zealand countryside, and amateur radio. I live in Marlborough, where there are over 300 SOTA peaks alone. When this kicks off, I will be keen to activate some of them. In the UK and Australia, SOTA activity has resulted in a real boost in daytime activity from HF to UHF. I am sure that SOTA will become extremely popular in New Zealand and could provide a new way to recruit people into amateur radio. Watch this space. Finally, please remember to get on the air and use our great resource in the radio spectrum. Good night all.
Thank you, Stuart. The President of NZART, Stuart Watchman, ZL2TW. A reminder tonight of Eastfest 2015, being held in just 2 weeks' time, Saturday the 12th and Sunday the 13th of September, at the Ashburton Masonic Lodge, 111 Havelock Street, Ashburton. Now, Eastfest will include many talks and presentations of hands-on ham radio, with subjects such as EME on a single Yagi, the Flex 6500 SDR transceiver, applying for ARRL DXCC awards, Hamfests in Australia, and that's but a sample of the program. You'll find the EastFest 2015 details on page 36 of your July-August copy of Break-In. If you need additional information, don't hesitate to contact Tony Buckland, ZL3HAM. Email zl3ham@scorch.co.nz. Or Jim Nelson, ZL3ND. Email jim.nelson@extra.co.nz. That's EastFest 2015 in Ashburton, Saturday the 12th and Sunday 13th of September. To Upper Hutt we go now, and it's a very good evening to the NZART business manager, Debby Morgan, ZL2DL.
Thanks, Jim, and good evening, everyone. I have recently received a number of emails from our feedback page on the website. It's great to see that people take the time to send in their views and any updates required on various pages and links. With this in mind, if you are advising me of a change of address, phone number, email or call sign, can you also please let me know if there is anything that I need to review on the web page where your name may be mentioned, especially if you are an examination supervisor, as there is always someone wanting to make contact for more information regarding amateur radio. Many of you may be aware that our current HQ Infoline editor, Mike Ball, ZL2VM, will be retiring from this position at the end of October. We are seeking expressions of interest for this very valuable information communique to members. This was first originally introduced on an 18-month trial in January 2001 by Jim Meechan, ZL2BHF. Thanks, Jim. 14 years later, I can safely say this has proven its worth of keeping members up to date with material that would not normally be published in Break-In. The editorship is not an onerous task, just collating information received via the Infoline email address and occasionally giving regular contributors a nudge to have their articles ready for the next issue. If you feel you have the time and would like to contribute to the running of your association, please contact me for more details. That's all from me, Jim. Back to you.
Thank you, Debbie. Debby Morgan, ZL2DL, our NZART business manager. And now for amateur radio news on the international scene, we join the team at Newsline.
In another example of radio amateurs performing critical services under daunting and dangerous circumstances, a team of British hams stepped in to help restore order and assure public safety after an airshow demonstration turned deadly. 14 were injured and as many as 11 died, perhaps more according to news reports, after a Hawker Hunter aircraft, during a demonstration for thousands of spectators on Saturday, August 22nd, crashed into cars traveling on a busy road near the Shoreham Airport grounds. The South Sussex Raynet Group joined with members of the South Kent Raynet to assist emergency services, directing people and equipment where needed. The Raynets are part of their respective counties' radio amateur emergency network. At the time of the crash, they had already been on site providing communication support to the event's organizers. Registration for the International Lighthouse and Lightship Weekend can be described in one word: shining. Organizers say the numbers topped 500 this year. A total of 506 registrants from 32 countries took part in the annual event August 15th and 16th, and the greatest participation was seen in England, Australia, and Germany. Other nations showing increased growth in participants included Canada, Cuba, Bulgaria, France, Portugal, and Scotland. In the United States alone, there were 70 lighthouses and lightships registered for the event. 13 sites were registered from Cuba, which has been normalizing its relations with the United States. Although the numbers were good, organizers said that 2014 was still the best year when 544 entrants signed up to operate. The next Lighthouse and Lightship Weekend will be held August 20th and 21st, 2016. The event is off to a good start. It already has 30 registrations. India's world-class science museum, the Visvesvaraya Industrial and Technological Museum in Bangalore, is marking its 50th year with special exhibits, one of which pays tribute to ham radio's popularity in that city. In addition to new displays of a meter-gauge steam locomotive engine and Nobel Prize milestones, the museum devotes space to the history of amateur radio in India. The museum has had a radio station on the premises since the 1970s, when licensed amateurs were a rapidly growing community in the region, and many hopeful hams took classes and then their licensing exams at the museum. The display includes transmitters and other equipment that is now considered hard to come by. Museum curator Madan Gopal tells the Bangalore Mirror the acquisition of those radios was quite a feat for its time. Quoting, "Back then, even to import an international magazine on science took at least 3 months, and we had to seek several clearances from the government. You can only imagine how hard it was to import a transistor." End of quote. The museum, part of India's Ministry of Culture, draws 1 million visitors annually. Elsewhere in India, hams from the South India Amateur Radio Society were marking a historic first. Hams from the South India Amateur Radio Society gathered August 22nd and 23rd for a homebrewers meetup and field day at the YMCA camp in Yelagiri, not far from the capital city of Chennai. The focus was on home brewing, but activities eventually moved into a night of chasing DX, using some of the ham's own homebrew antennas. There was also a bit of Elmering with the help of Dev Rama Prabhu, VU2DEV from Bangalore. 2 homebrew projects were in the spotlight. O.M. Prabin, VU3MJF from Bangalore, shared the creation of his transmitter, and another ham from Bangalore, O.M. Sudhiri Rajur's VU3PWT, spoke about the automation systems he designed and built. Of course, the gathering wasn't complete without at least one more important project befitting the occasion: a good strong cup of tea. Homebrew, of course. Hungarian radio amateurs can now apply for permits to operate in the band from 5350 to 5450 kilohertz on a secondary basis. The National Media and Info Communications Authority, Hungary's telecommunications register, is granting the 3-month permits largely for propagation research with support from the Hungarian National Amateur Radio Society. The temporary permits, which are renewable, permit power of as much as 100 watts with a maximum bandwidth of 3 kilohertz. Although the permits are issued by the Telecommunications Register, hams apply through the Amateur Radio Society, which is coordinating the details. The band already has a CW beacon at 5357 kilohertz using the call HA7SO. NDX, the Amateur Radio Club at the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, is marking its 50th anniversary and using a special call sign for the event. They'll take part in the Scandinavian Activity Contest on SSB from September 24th through 25th using the call sign SA50L. QSL should be sent via SK0BU. For now, with Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team worldwide, I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW in New Orleans, saying 73, and as always, we thank you for listening. Amateur Radio Newsline is copyright 2015. All rights are reserved.
And as always, it's thank you to the team at Newsline for the use of their copyright material. Now with information provided by Sangster Shield contest organiser Glenn ZL2KZ, we take a quick look at results of this year's contest held back in May. Glenn ZL2KZ says thanks to all participants, numbers were well down this year, with only 10 entrants and 12 logs received from about 15 active stations. Top scores are also down on previous years. Congratulations go to Bill ZL3VZ in winning the Sangster Shield, his second win to date. Long-time entrant Sid ZL2BIF takes second place ahead of Doug ZL1BFS, who's third this year. Bill ZL3VZ once again takes the Arthur Stevens Trophy as top and only South Island station. There were no newly licensed entrants for the Transistor Trophy. Wellington Branch 50 was the only branch this year with more than one entrant, and with the required 3 entrants, gains the Branch Award, which this year is the inaugural Tony Fletcher ZL2ALJ Memorial Trophy. Thanks to Stan ZL2ST Branch 25 and Ken ZL1AIH for providing check logs. The 10 qualifying active branches for the contest this year were Branch 3, 16, 22, 25, 29, 50, 72, 80, 87 and 88. Glenn ZL2KZ apologises for his late processing of logs and results, brought about by his being on overseas holiday from prior to the closing date until late in July. A full summary of the Sangster Shield results was published in the 21st of August, issue 322 of Headquarters Info Line, and that of course is available on the NZART web page. It's time for WARO News, and a very good evening to Rosemary, ZL1RO.
Thanks, Jim, and good evening, everyone. WARO invites all licensed YLs to join us in a YL On Air activity week of amateur radio fun. This is an opportunity for WARO members and YLs from around New Zealand to get together on the air and help promote women in amateur radio. It's not a contest, but we do suggest that contacts be logged, as will give the person with the most WARO contacts a certificate at the end of the week. I'll tell you where to send your logs in the September official broadcast. The dates for this week are Sunday the 20th of September to Saturday the 26th of September, 2015 of course. Frequencies, 80 metres, round about the WARO frequency, which is 3.695. 20 metres, national system 2-metre repeaters, and from 8 to 9 p.m. every night for that week. We encourage all WARO members to participate and would like to encourage other licensed WAROs to come up on air for a contact too. A reminder that the Australian WAROs Alara contest is taking place this weekend, and there's still time to have a few contacts before it finishes tonight at 23:59 hours local time. Your executive have decided that the annual Thelma Super Memorial Contest will not be held in 2016. A decision has not yet been made on the future of this contest. It would be great if a volunteer came forward to be our contest manager and run the contest for us. Any member interested in this position should contact President Kathy ZL280K for further information. Written items and photos are always welcome for inclusion in the WARO Bulletin. Send them off to Topsy ZL2LS at her email address in the executive page of the Bulletin magazine. The next issue of the Bulletin is due out in September. Our break-in page compilers are also keen to receive items of interest for the WARO break-in page. They can be sent to waro@nzart.org.nz. Here's a date to put in your diary. The next International WARO meet is to be held in the UK and hosted by Lara, the British Ladies Amateur Radio Group. This meet is being held at Milton Keynes from October the 14th to the 16th, 2016. And I'll bring you more details as they become available. Tomorrow is the last day to get the discount for WARO subscriptions, but don't let that put you off from paying if you haven't already done so. That's all from WARO for this month, Jim. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Rosemary. Reporting for WARO, Rosemary Boshier, ZL1RO. Finally, in tonight's official broadcast lineup, it's branch news. Here's Stephen McNeill, ZL4HG.
Thanks, Jim, and good evening, everyone. From the 29er, newsletter of Branch 29 NZART North Shore. The next meeting is on Monday, September the 7th, where Andy, ZL1COP, will talk on data. Meetings are held at 400 East Coast Road in Sunnynook on the North Shore. To Nelson Branch 26, where meetings are at the National Party Electorate Office meeting rooms, which is on the corner of Waimea and Quarantine Roads. The next meeting is on Wednesday the 16th of September, where Jim ZL2BHF will talk on the national system and how it works. Hutt Valley Branch 18 has their next meeting on Monday, September the 7th, starting 7:30 p.m, and this is a construction night. Meetings are held in the club rooms in the Philip Evans Reserve in Waterloo in Lower Hutt. And finally, to Christchurch Branch 05, where the next meeting is on Wednesday, September the 2nd, starting 7:30 p.m. at the club rooms at 5 Idris Road in Fendleton. This is a combined branches meeting, and it will feature an update on KiwiSat by Terry, ZL3QL. That's all from me. Back to you, Jim.
Thank you, Stephen. Stephen McNeill, ZL4HG, reporting from Christchurch. The next issue of NZART Headquarters Info Line will be emailed on Friday, the 4th of September. The next official broadcast of NZART will be made by ZL6A at 8 p.m. on Sunday, the 27th of September. This is ZL6A, headquarters station of the New Zealand Association of Radio Transmitters, concluding the official broadcast for August 2015. Good night, everyone. Good night now.